Time for our research segment here on NFS News at 5. Today we talk sodas. They come in a variety of flavors and are packed with sugars. Too many isn't healthy for you, but how bad can they really be? Our nutritional neuroscientist from the University of Toronto, Danielle, is here to talk to us about a research study by Paul Jacques from Boston University. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, it's a pleasure to be here.
So could you tell us a little bit more about this study?
Well, we know that sweetened beverages are associated with cardiometabolic risk factors, but we were unsure about its association with hard outcomes, or simply put, the actual diseases. So the main objective of the study was to determine if sugar or artificially sweetened soft drinks associated with the chances of having stroke or dementia over 10 years.
Sounds fascinating. So how did the researchers address this question?
Well, the researchers conducted an observational prospective cohort study. Let's refer to the board for more details. The study looked at participants from the Framingham Heart Study offspring cohort. 2,900 people were included in the stroke study, and 1,500 people were included in the dementia study. They filled out a semi-quantitative food frequency questionnaire to track how many sugar and artificially sweetened sodas they had per day. Then, the researchers recorded any incidences of stroke and dementia over the next 10 years.
That's quite a long study. Did any significant results come out of it?
Yes, it did. Artificially sweetened soft drink intake significantly associated with an increased risk in stroke, all-cause, and Alzheimer's disease dementia, even after adjusting for factors that could also contribute to the disease development, or in other words, the confounders. The age, sex, energy intake, and lifestyle factors, including the diet quality, physical activity, and smoking status, were adjusted for. Drinking one or more servings of artificially sweetened sodas per day increased the hazard ratios, or in other words, their risk for stroke by 2.96, and for dementia it was 2.89. However, the results were no longer significant after adjusting for vascular risk factors and diabetes, and surprisingly, there was no significant association with stroke or dementia with sugar-sweetened soft drinks.
That's interesting. What is so surprising about sugar-sweetened sodas? Do the study's results fit in with the current scientific literature?
The study's results on sugar-sweetened sodas do not support the current literature, but the findings on artificially sweetened sodas is supported. Prospective cohort studies analyzed by Ralph Sacco from the University of Miami and Walter Willett from Harvard University collectively found that higher intake of both sugar and artificially sweetened soft drinks significantly associated with the increased risk in stroke. From my knowledge, this is the only study of its type to examine sodas and dementia. But a prospective cohort study by Catherine Tucker from Tufts University associated sugar-sweetened soda intake with cognitive impairment, which relates to dementia. Much more research will be needed in the future to better understand the differences between sugar and artificially sweetened sodas on the risk of stroke and dementia.
Did you recognize any strengths to this study?
The study merits its strength in being a long prospective cohort study that observed actual hard outcomes within the context of beverage intake and adjusted for many relevant confounders. These establish and reinforce the association between artificially sweetened sodas and the actual stroke and dementia events.
So what about the limitations?
This was just an observational study that only determined associations and couldn't provide a causal explanation. Another limitation is residual confounding, which is when other potential factors are not accounted for in the study. They may have also had reverse causality. Participants of ill health may have switched to drinking artificially sweetened soft drinks to regulate their weight or blood sugar levels. And because adjusting for vascular risk factors and diabetes eliminated the significance in these associations, these confounders may have actually led to the stroke or dementia, while the drinks themselves may be a marker for a person at high risk. It also had potential for bias in two cases. One, selection bias, as participants who consumed sugar-sweetened sodas may have died before observing the stroke and dementia cases. And two, the recall bias from self-reporting the soda intake. And finally, the study participants were mainly of European descent, which means the study may not be applicable to other minorities and is not representative of the Canadian population.
Any other thoughts on the matter of this study?
Yes, I wanted to talk about the media coverage of the study. I found that many news articles, such as those from CNN and NBC, were truthful. They asserted that the findings were an association and mentioned the limitations of the study. But one article from the New York Times was poorly written. Sugar-sweetened soft drinks were never mentioned. The adjustments for confounds were deceptively all grouped together and didn't specify the potential role diabetes played in the results.
I could see how that could cause a lot of confusion and mislead the readers.
Yes, exactly.
What is your overall opinion on science in the media?
It can be challenging to report science in the news. It needs to be accurate, concise, and interesting. But unfortunately, accuracy is often compromised, and not all reporters are science experts, so they risk in misinterpreting the research. As a result, the media can do a poor job at translating scientific knowledge to the public. Together with that, it's difficult to follow up and correct sensational news. This is concerning because it can lead people astray, but it would be great if researchers and journalists collaborated more closely together to ensure nutritional science is clear and interesting.
Hopefully we can do that more often. Would you think that this news report is doing a good job?
Yes, I think you are doing an excellent job so far.
Thank you. Yes! We ventured out to our local grocery store to encapsulate the take-home message of this study. So what's the verdict and implications of this study? Should people start switching from diet to regular drinks?
This study was the first of its kind to show a relationship between artificially sweetened sodas and the risk of stroke and dementia. More research is needed to tease apart diabetes, brain health, and sweetener types in soda. Because of the conflicts with the larger body of evidence and the limitations I mentioned, the study shouldn't urge you to switch from artificially sweetened to sugar-sweetened sodas. But it does highlight the importance of consuming these drinks in moderation to protect your brain.
Amazing. Thank you for all that information, Danielle. Be sure to tune in next Friday when we learn about Mediterranean diet and sleep. Okay.